I felt this void in my life, like there was something missing. So when I was living in big cities, it was like I had to get away to connect with nature. But when I wake up every morning, I come outside and I'm immediately in nature here. I don't have that void anymore. I've just got this instant connection and satisfaction. I'm Andrew Martin, and today we're here at our permaculture property in the Bay of Plenty, New Zealand. We've got 5 acres and we've planted hundreds of fruit trees, which you'll see later. So this is our main garden, just close to the house in Zone 1. So yeah, you can see we've got a lot happening here. We've got lots of kale and spinach, silver beet, beetroot, bok choy, rhubarb, zucchini. And how I started this is basically a sheet mulch. So I got some newspaper cardboard, some manure and some food scraps, and then built it up and then just put straw on top and then just planted straight into it. And since then I've just kept adding to the soil with compost. So yeah, I studied business and I was involved in finance, and more specifically the stock market. So we used to help people manage their money. And one of the organisations I work with, we used to manage hundreds of millions of dollars for people. I think I just did business because it was one of those things that I thought would lead to something. And sure, I've been successful in a certain regard, given us the wherewithal to be able to buy some land and that sort of stuff. But I felt myself being drawn into this materialistic world because all the people that were around me had material possessions, and there's this wanting and creating of attachment and wanting more stuff. It can be contagious, this consumerism, materialism lifestyle. I wasn't from that background, from a sort of a conservative sort of upbringing. Then all of a sudden I'm involved with guys that are driving luxury cars and living in an expensive house in the Sydney suburbs. A lot of guys I worked with were multi-millionaires, and they were trapped into a system, and they thought that an extra 10 or 20 or 30 million would make them happier. And I worked out early on in the piece that is not the case. And I think a lot of people think that the more money they have, the more happy they're going to be, and it just doesn't work. So the idea is to have native plants mixed among fruit trees. So we've got natives here. We've got a Tamarillo here. We've got Manuka and Carnuka and Pittosporums natives. We've got a cabbage tree here. This is a pine nut. So those are really expensive nuts you get in the supermarket. This is one of those that takes about 10 years to get any fruit on it or any nuts. So that's a long-term project. And then we've got over here, we've got a fig tree, which is fruiting quite nicely, and another carob tree here. And then for the monarch butterflies, we've got a couple of swan plants which they really enjoy, and we might be lucky to see one. Here he comes now. There was a lot of little moments of realisation. I saw a few documentaries and movies that were about some of the bigger picture issues, but when you're in the corporate world and you're so busy with your life and achieving certain things, it's hard to get off that train. Beth, my wife, and I, we sort of had grown over the corporate lifestyle and the trap of having and wanting more. So we thought, okay, let's just cut our ties from what we'd known and we'd been working in for many years. And we thought, okay, let's just start afresh. So we'd been to New Zealand a number of times previously, and we just thought that's a great place to just start, and we'll look at alternatives and live a simpler, more sustainable life and just explore what's out there. It was then the realisation sort of hit home. I started to research more, read hundreds of articles and watched hundreds of documentaries and all sorts of stuff. Then I started to really understand, wow, we've got some serious issues here and no one's really talking about this stuff, and it's quite scary. In here we've got our chickens. We've got 2 breeds. We've got a brown shaver, which is these ones here. And then over here we've got Araucans. And over here we have little chicks. that have just hatched in the last 2 days. You can see them down here. Okay, the chicken yard here, you can see there's lots of weeds and little shrubs and whatnot, and we've planted some, there's about 10 or 12 feijoa bushes around the edge to give them some protection. There's a walnut tree down there. But you know, the chickens love it. They can get in here and hide under here and escape from predators, because when we first had them it was cleared and we did have a problem with eagles and hawks, so we'd lost a few chickens because that was easy for the hawks to see them and come in and attack them. But now we haven't had a problem, and you can see there's little hidey holes everywhere for the chickens here, and they love it in here. They just hide through here, and over here they even lay eggs in the hidey holes, and here's one here. There you go. The first thing we did is simplified our life. So once you simplify your life, it frees you up to do a lot of other things. So we just thought, okay, what can we afford, and live within that limit, and that way it frees you up a lot more. So downsizing and tiny homes is excellent because it really gives people the freedom to make decisions about their lives. And that's sort of what we've done. We've consciously made that effort not to live outside our means. And once you do that, it's really powerful, hey? So I always wanted a pond, and a lot of permaculture people talk about ponds, and everyone has ponds, and it's functional, it's got some great uses. So the idea is I built this pond to feed the beds, which are actually under about 2 feet of grass at the moment. So what happened is I thought, okay, I'll have a go at digging the pond. And I started digging it out, and I just kept going for a couple of hours. And then after 4 hours, I had a pretty big hole. It's probably 1.5 meters deep. And then the second day, I just kept going and dug down. And within 2 days, about 4 or 5 hours each day, I had a pond. And then I just got a liner and put it in the pond, and I couldn't believe my luck. The next day, it belted down rain, and then the pond was full. So in 2 days, I've gone from having no pond to a completely full pond, which is awesome. Apart from working on the garden, that takes a good part of my day. I also write for a few blogs, and I've written a few books, and I also consult with business, local government and community groups on helping raise awareness around some of the big picture issues. So I do what they call as a vulnerability assessment. So once I analyse the data and identify gaps, then I come up with recommendations for councils to move to a more sustainable model. I'm fortunate, I'm in a position to be able to do this. A lot of people don't have the luxury of being able to have time to research and come up with ideas and solutions. So that's what I'm trying to achieve. I saw a documentary back in 2007 called A Crude Awakening, and they were talking about the oil shock and resource depletion on peak oil. And that really got me interested in the whole energy side of things. I read lots of books on energy and watched lots of documentaries and lots of articles, and it just seemed that permaculture kept popping up as a solution. Then I started to research permaculture and realised that it was an integrated approach to how we're living. So at the moment, our current society, it's a fragmented approach to living. So everything's compartmentalised or separated, whereas permaculture is a holistic approach to how we're living. It integrates food, environment, with your lifestyle, and taking care of people, the planet, and the natural resources. So that really hit home, and I just really thought that was one of the solutions for moving forward. Over here we've got some grapes, and we've had these in for about 1.5 years, and this is our first decent yield of grapes, as you can see here. And what we do, so we let the next door neighbour graze our front 2 paddocks, and in return I can go over to her place and I get some pine needles, which the blueberries love because they love acidic soil. So I sprinkle the pine needles around the blueberries, so it helps mulch them and helps give them nutrient, and it also keeps the weeds down. So what I'm trying to, I do mow, and I don't like it, but I've just tried to mow the paths, also side the paths. So what we do is we leave all the weeds and the ground cover there because it's a waste of resource. But what I like to do is just walk up when I'm out in the garden and just pick a bit of weed and just drop it around there. It gives it a bit of a top up and a bit of a feed, and then, you know, it just protects it from evaporation, and yeah, it's just constant soil building. So a lot of people come over to our property and have a look around, and they go, what about all your fruit trees? Do you get pests and stuff like birds that eat them? And I said, yeah, sure, but we don't mind that. You know, they were here first, and you know, we're a part of nature. And you know, we've had comments from other people that live around near us on the farms, and they say they can't believe how much wildlife and bird life is here, and their properties just, you know, a few 100 metres away have almost no wildlife or bird life. So, you know, we're attracting bird life and wildlife through just letting nature be, as opposed to wanting to control it. Start growing food. That's where a lot of these initiatives start. Food is central to the way we live, our health, and our whole ecosystem environment. So if we can start doing something small, like even if you just live in suburbia and you've got a small block, you can start growing food. Even if you're in an apartment, you can, you know, windowsills, pots, whatever. You can start, and that's the first step. Once you engage with growing and experiencing nature, then things start to happen. And it's like a flower. It starts, you know, growing, getting bigger, and then that leads to something else. So get out there and explore, because there are options. We just have to have the capacity to realise that we're not stuck, and we can change and just do it.
I love Andrew's story because it contradicts the belief that underpins our society, that earning large amounts of money and having expensive material possessions are what lead to happiness. We've been fed this lie by businesses and governments in order to make profit and to perpetuate the growth economy that's contributing to the destruction of the earth. By each one of us refusing to believe this story our society tells us, together we can create a world where the deep satisfaction we all desire comes from our connection with community and nature rather than from material possessions. In the face of the crises the world is facing today, a new way of being is emerging, where we're connected to nature and exist in harmony with all other forms of life. And it's up to us to pioneer the transition to this deeply satisfying, nourishing, and truly sustainable way of life.
I definitely feel happier and less stressed. When you're working in the corporate world, it's very competitive, and I tell you, there's not much competition out here, apart from a few weeds, which I get upset with, but now I've learned to let go, and now I eat some of the weeds. I definitely feel better, and I feel more flexible. I don't have any aches or pains anymore, and I just feel more connected and more lively. I eat much healthier now. I don't eat any processed foods. We eat a lot of vegetarian meals, and it's all fresh, organic produce. So we also live a less consumerist lifestyle, so we don't need as much stuff. So I haven't got this constant craving for more and more things to make me feel satisfied or happy. This lifestyle, working on the land and doing permaculture, it feels more rewarding and like I'm putting something back. With a lot of current society, it's take, take, take. And with this sort of lifestyle, I feel like this is long term, I'm putting something back. So there you have it. We have homegrown salad, fruit salad, green salad, and some eggs. And I can't believe still that I don't have to go to a supermarket. We've grown all this ourselves in just 3 years. I'm still amazed. So anyone can do it.
So I hope you all enjoyed the first of many films in this series. And this project wouldn't be happening at all if it wasn't for the generous support of our crowdfunding backers. So thanks so much to everyone who donated. And I want to say a special thank you to the Simplicity Institute, Fred's Tiny Houses, Michael Omundson, Lou Ridsdale, and Quentin Wilson. If you want to find out more about the project, you can click here and it'll take you through to our website. Or if you want to watch another film about a permaculture farm, you can click here. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next film.